thrilled to have the first session of our summer 2020 webinar series, and we are thrilled to have you all joining us. My name is Mary Moose, and I am the Department Chair for Early Childhood Education and Human Services with Rasmussen College, and like I said, we're thrilled to have you join us. Let me go through a few quick housekeeping tasks just to be sure that we have everything under control. So the first thing is you'll want to be sure that you have your audio hooked up for tonight so that you have the ability to hear us. So I'm assuming since you're seeing slides change and you haven't heard us or heard me, that you'll be wondering why your audio is not working, but that's why we have the slide here, so at least you'll know. The Early Childhood Education degree program at Rasmussen College, we always want to do a shameless plug here, just so you know why we do the ECE webinar series. We do it to reach out to more than just our students. We reach out to community members across the country who work in early childhood education in family child care, center-based care, Head Start, and many other areas of the field of early childhood. And we do have fully online degree programs that are waiting for you if you are so inclined to continue your education. So we hope that you, if you are interested, that you visit our website where we have a ton of information to help you make your decision, and that you do consider extending your education wherever you are at in your educational journey. We'll never stop learning, and I consider myself a lifelong learner, and I hope you do too. Couple navigations things to pay attention to. You've been muted so that the background noise that is hopefully the hubbub of joy around your home is still there, but we don't want it to be distracting to you or to others that are listening. We do recommend you use your computer speakers and microphone, but you can use your phone as well, and you may need to flip between the two during the session. If for some reason you're having audio issues, you can flip to your phone and call in using your phone, or you can call in using your computer, either way. You can also comment and answer questions, and Angela is an extremely dynamic presenter, so I think you're going to want to definitely share your thoughts, answer her questions, and participate in the conversation in the chat for sure. And you'll want to do that by going to the bottom of the right side of your screen where you'll see the chat or send to little drop down. And when you see that send to drop down, you want to make sure it says all participants. That way more than just myself see your post, unless it's a private question that you just want directed to us, but typically we want to share with the group, because if you have the question, odds have it a lot of others in the group do too. You will receive 1.5 hours or 1.5 hours of in-service for attending tonight's session. Within 48 business hours, you will receive an email from Rasmussen College that will have a link inside. And in that link, you'll find your certificate for participation for tonight's session. We do track participation, so it's important that you participate and you stay engaged throughout the session. And we only provide the certificate to those that are listening to this live and attending live. And like I said, they're sent by email, so they're sent to the email that you used when you registered for this session. So that's the one you'll want to look at. And occasionally they end up dropping into your spam or junk folder. So you'll want to make sure that you check there if you have not received it. You can certainly reach out to me and I can either track it down for you or get you a new one. So without further ado, I want to take a moment to share with you a little bit about our presenter this evening. Dr. Searcy holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in English and Secondary Education with a teacher certification through the state of Illinois. She has a master's degree in Early Childhood Development from Erickson Institute in Illinois with a specialization in infant studies, and then a doctorate in education with a specialization in response to intervention and assessment. Her research centers around brain-based learning, assessed by the CLASS, or C-L-A-S-S, assessment, and its correlation to aggressive behaviors in preschool classrooms. Angela is currently a candidate for Erickson Institute's Infant and Early Childhood Mental Health Credential. Now, she's also the owner and founder of Simple Solutions Educational Services, a professional development company. An educator since 1990, she has experience at all levels of education, including infants and toddlers, preschool, 6th grade, 8th grade, and 9th grades. She is currently an adjunct faculty member and continuing education instructor with Erickson Institute. She's the author of the book that is featured this evening, Push Past It, A Positive Approach to Challenging Classroom Behaviors, with Griffin House Publishing. She's a professional development provider for Teaching Strategies, LLC, the Bureau of Education and Research, and an affiliate trainer for Teachstone. She is one very busy lady. A credentialed developmental therapist through the state of Illinois, and she's a former neurodevelopmental specialist. Angela has special training in neuroscience and 10 years of experience providing assessment and treatment services for children with special needs. Angela is a nationally renowned speaker, and she has been featured on Chicago's WGN Channel 9 News, Chicago Public Radio's Chicago Matters, Chicago Parent and Chicago Baby magazines. And then on a personal note, Angela and her husband of 25 years are proud parents to 4 children aged 25 down to 15. Can you believe that? And without further ado, welcome to Dr. Searcy, and I'm going to turn it over to her. Let me give you the ball, Angela. There you go. All right.
Share. Great. I'm going to share my, there we go. I think you should be able to see my PowerPoint now. So thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with everyone today. Let me know if you can't hear me or if you can't hear me clearly, but thank you. I'm so excited. Our topic for today is Push Past It, a positive approach to challenging classroom behaviors. And thank you, Mary, for such a great introduction. I'm so excited to be here, and I've worked with Rasmussen as well as an instructor. So happy to be back. Thanks for having me. So in our PowerPoint here, I just wanted to highlight oh, go ahead.
Oh, there you go. I was just going to interrupt you for a brief moment, if I may. With your screen, I noticed there's a box on the bottom right. Is that your chat box?
My chat box.
It blocks out a little bit.
Some way to...
So I think you might just have to move it over a little.
Oh, it does. Yeah, and maybe Mary, if I can't look at the chat box, do you think maybe I could probably close it and then open it when I need
Yep,
to?
and I can keep an eye on questions for you. That would work.
Yes, and then I'll just kind of pause and say, hey, Mary, what's in the chat box? You know, So we have a team. So there we go. So I hope everything looks a little bit better now that I kind of moved that out of the way. Okay, all right. Well, one thing I did want to highlight, if I hope my screen looks a lot better to you, is, oh, let me go back, is that contact information here. So we could have an hour and a half together, but if you have questions after the workshop, please, my heart would be broken if I realized that you left this workshop without a question answered. So my email is available to you for anyone who's attended my workshops before. I'm about a week behind on those emails, but it may take me a couple of weeks, but I will answer you. And then literally my cell phone is right here. So hopefully you'll be able to actually just give me a text or tell me good morning or tell me about a challenge, and I'll be able to give you some support. So please use me as a resource going forward. We're not friends. This is just the beginning of our conversation. All right. I also, since we have, again, a short time together, I have resources for you on my YouTube channel. So if you have not gone to my YouTube channel, it's free. It's easy. Just go ahead and type in my name. You'll see my picture, so you know it's me. And I just kind of wanted to point out to you that I have 71 videos for social emotional teaching. What? Don't go out this weekend. Just come look at these videos. So please feel free to take advantage of a free resource to you where you can, after the workshop, get more ideas and more support. I'm definitely here for you, and I add to it all the time. I also have free resources on my author page. So if you're like, I don't know about this, push past it, well, check out the free resources first. So what you would do is go to griffinhouse.com and then just go to push past it. Next, you would click my author tab. So just so you know, the author tab is what you would click. Then you could click read more is step number 2. And then step number 3 is you'll see another link that says workshop downloadables. In the workshop downloadables, you'll see a lot of the handouts that you got today. I think either you're getting the handouts or you will get them. I saw Mary nod, so I think that you were able to get those. Okay, great, great, get those handouts. But you'll be able to share those handouts with others, or if you lose something, then you can go back to my author page and download those for free. And if you just want to check me out again and hear me, my YouTube channel as well as my author page has mini workshops on it. What? So if you like listening to me, come on, you can listen to me all the time, and there's no cost because I just want to support you. And if you're an educator, you are a hero to me. So I just want to support you in all the wonderful things that you do. Please give yourselves a round of applause for being so awesome. So, and thank you, Mary. Mary just put that in the chat box. Awesome. All right, now I'm probably the only person that wants your phone. So go ahead and take pictures and tweet and chat out and share out and just tag me. So hashtag PushPastIt, Simple Solutions, and let's continue our connection. I have my Facebook page, Simple Solutions Educational Services, but I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn. You'll be able to find me. Now, you may need some blank paper to write and draw with. We're going to have fun during our time together, but just want to remind you of our objectives. This is actually a 2-part series. So in this first part, yeah, this is just the beginning, everybody. In the first part, the session will help you think about your classroom interactions, context, and then your variables that may contribute to challenging behaviors. In our next webinar, that's going to be August 13th, we're going to get more in depth, give lots more strategies, and keep it coming. Yes, it's a big topic. All right, so what I want you to do right now is I want you to list your questions about challenging behaviors in the chat box. I actually see them pop up as you put them in, and if a lot of people do it, I'm sure Mary will kind of, highlight big themes that she sees in the chat box. As you're chatting in the chat box or figuring out where the chat box is, then keep in mind that I'm kind of keeping track of your questions, kind of making a few little notes if we see some themes. And then also, I have a Facebook group called Push Past It. You can join that Facebook group if you want, and you can ask questions all day long. I actually get questions in that group, and it's a great place that I'll answer questions. So let's just say I don't answer a question for you today. If you're a Facebook person, go right into that, just ask to be added. It's a group so you can just be real. So that's why it's private. So you're not worried like, oh my goodness, who's going to see this? It's kind of like Vegas. We just keep it all. We just keep it all in that group. And go ahead, but if you don't join the group, go ahead and chat right now in the chat box. What are your questions? I can think about it as I talk today in our time together. So feel free to go ahead and just chat any questions that you have. Mary, is there anything that you're seeing? Is anybody kind of chatting in? Give me the update.
It would help if I unmuted. The questions are just coming in now. So Lauren just joined us a little bit late, but that's okay. We just started the deep conversation. Children running around the room is a question. So just kind of seeing that open space, I'm guessing, and taking advantage. There is comments about the Facebook group and loving the Facebook group. Not following directions is one of them. how to get children who scream and yell when you try to talk to them, so that's their response to you. Screaming comes up a couple times. Biting is coming up a couple times. Would love some more strategies on those extremely aggressive students.
Right. Okay, I hear a theme: aggression, screaming, crying, the typical, I think.
Yeah, hurting friends and then laughing about it. Those kinds, like I'm talking about now. Yeah, sounds very common.
Right, and then also I think I saw a quick one pop up about perspective taking. We'll kind of talk about that today. So good. I think we got a good just Mary, I'll kind of jump in and kind of ask you again to kind of update me throughout our session, and you just jump in, Mary, if I missed something that was really important, but I kind of wrote these down.
Sounds good. Oh, and the last one, another one that came in was just talking about getting parents on board to help their child when they have major issues going on, so that everyone's on the same page.
Oh, nice. Okay, awesome, Mary. Thank you. Oh, you guys are a savvy group. So awesome. I can't wait to delve into these questions. I do have them noted, and I'm going to bring them up as I kind of talk today. So the first thing is that we're going to just chat in about typical discipline approaches and the research behind them, and I'll kind of answer and sprinkle in a couple of your questions and kind of jump in here. So yeah, sometimes I've been a teacher, as you guys know, a teacher, a therapist, a coach, and sometimes I just think of just changing my sentence to sit quietly, behave yourself, and stop that. So let me just tell you some of my typical discipline approaches, research about them, and some of the pitfalls. So one, oh yeah, you can't share toys. They're fighting over the material, then I'll just take the material, I'll say, it's Miss Angela's truck now, and then I'll just put it up on a shelf, right? Okay, so pitfalls with that, come on, raise your hand, amen if you've done it, we've all been there. But here's the thing, I didn't really have a lot of strategies. So what I noticed is that when I did something like that and said, oh, it's Angela's truck, 2 minutes later, they're fighting over something else, right? Come on, everybody. Give me the amens in the chat box, okay? Then I tried removing a child from an area. It's like, you can't play with your friends nicely. Then, oh, my God, you need to move to a different area. Come with this, Angela. Okay? And then other pitfalls with that is that I would remove them from an area, they start doing something in a new area, right? So that is another kind of thing that kind of pops up. I think I see something, hold on here, something about content. Okay, it kind of popped up. All right, so removing a child from an area, again, appeared to be temporary, that it wasn't a long-term solution, okay? Another thing about removing a child from an area is some children went willingly and others put up a fight. So sometimes they would wet noodle themselves. And then I found myself in this awkward, come on, amen, everybody, that you get in this awkward situation if they wet noodle you and then you're trying to pull them and they're pulling back. Okay. If you've been there, tell me. Removing a child from the group. So maybe I'm having a circle time and I'm just like, Mary's over there screaming. I'm using you, Mary. Mary's over there screaming, blah, and hitting people. And I said, give a high sign to my, my assistant teacher, like, out. And then I removed them from the group. But then, yeah, what's the issues with that? They don't get to interact with anybody. That no one learned anything from that. That I bring the child back to the group, and then that's the pitfall. I'm constantly removing, bringing back, and it's kind of like I'm in a cycle, right? And then another one, I got a list of them, everybody. Taking away a privilege. Yes, if you can't do what you're supposed to do, then I don't think you should be the line leader, right? Or sometimes I'll say, sit for 2 minutes at recess. Sit for 2 minutes at recess, right? And then guess what? I just punished myself because that kid did run around at recess, so now they're overwhelmed and they're going crazy because they had to sit for half of the recess, and now I'm realizing they're not going to nap at nap time, and I'm the one who's getting punished. How did this happen? Putting a child in timeout. I was just like, you know what? I think that you need to go sit in the thinking chair and think about what you're doing. And then here's the pitfall again. When you put a 4-year-old in a thinking chair, they're thinking about not what you think they're thinking. They're thinking about how to grab the toy in a different way. They're not old enough. The pitfall is they're not old enough to reflect on their behavior because they don't have that skill yet. So then sitting in the thinking chair thinking alone is not helpful to a young child. They need a lot of support to be able to reflect on their behavior. Okay, so what happened to some of my, come on everybody, chat in the chat box if you've been there with me. I saw some LOLs and some amens. Is that what I didn't realize is that removing material meant loss of learning on how to use the material. So I always was in this cycle because the child never got an opportunity to learn. Oh, you're throwing water off the water table? You're not ready for the water table. Well, gee, guys, they're like 3. When are they going to be ready for the water table? Because after 3, you don't really, 3, 4-year-olds, by the time you're in kindergarten, you may not get an opportunity to be at the water table. So now I've missed all these great ideas. Terry's cracking up. I missed all these great opportunities to teach them in order to get them ready for kindergarten. Then, if the child's never in the area, they'll never learn how to be in an area with other people. If I take them for a walk or have them go see the director in the front desk, they're just developing a relationship with the director up at the front desk, not a relationship with their peers or with me. And then the other children miss out on working with that child. So not only did that child miss out, but other children seem to miss out. So you notice, anybody had a kid? Come on, everybody. Anybody have that kid that nobody wants to play with? Give me an amen. I've had them. They're like, I don't want to play with him. He hits, right? Oh, yes, Jennifer. Jennifer's like, oh, yeah. Okay, Alicia's like, yep. I see the amens coming in. And Mary's right. They blame everything on that child. So then now we're actually getting exclusion, and we're exacerbating the situation. I push myself, as I stated, children need to run, children need to jump, they need to get their exercise in. So some of the things when I took away a privilege, then sometimes I was making it worse for myself. And then time to calm down, and don't get me wrong, I agree with time to calm down, but it's a way to do it. I was reacting. Right? I wasn't planning for a time to calm down. I was reacting like, oh, here we go, right? So I love all these comments. So now we're spending so much time getting them to sit in the thinking chair or getting them to go to the timeout and keep them there that we could have been teaching them how to calm down instead of trying to get them to this place. So here's something that I learned. I'm sharing some, come on, we got to get the strategies going, right? Calming caddies. Calming caddies are just like a little caddy that you use for your shower materials, like those caddies. You put calming caddies throughout the room. That calming should be all over your classroom. If you're a parent, you can also, and a teacher, you can also use calming bags. So calming bags, look at my calming bag. It's a cute little bag. It's easy for me to carry. Oh, it's easy to carry or stuff someplace. or put around my wrist. Oops, I'm dropping it. It's so small that I can put a calming bag. Oh, they got them for grown-ups. Yes, that was a good question. Right around my wrist. So I have to pull a child to go anywhere. In my calming caddy or my calming bag, I have bubbles. Yes, yeah, I have finger puppets. So easy to pull out. Oh, there's my thing. Oh, and then sometimes I'll have a race car. Some of the little boys love that, or action figures. And then also I'll have little squeezies like the star. Oh, I hope you guys are come on, chat in if you like these ideas. So we don't need to go anywhere to calm down. I'm ready for you to calm down. Calming bags, calming baskets, calming caddies, calming pinwheels throughout your classroom. Oh, I love it. Calming, Lauren, oh my gosh, I'm glad you guys are liking this. So calming is something that, hey, nobody ever calms down by you saying calm down. right? Nobody in the history of calm down, nobody calmed down by saying calm down. So you need concrete tools that are easy to carry. Another idea is to have, right, Mary, it makes you madder when people say calm down, correct? Okay, you got it. So another idea is to have calming buddies. Calming buddies with another child. Have you ever had a child that you kind of come near them with all these tools and they go, oh man, I'm really going to turn it up now. You didn't hear me when I said no. So then some children can calm another child better than an adult. So then think of which child could say, oh, you need your calming buddy. You could also have it as a job to be a calming buddy. Now, it may 2-year-olds, I don't know if it'll work with them, but some 3- and 4-year-olds definitely, they could be calming buddies, okay? And a calming buddy, you would have a story, because some calming buddies aren't really good at it. They're like, calm down. So I don't get to see the kids like hitting somebody in the head to calm them. So you would have to teach the children how to be a calming buddy. And then you would do a story about it. And you would do a graph about all the ways to calm down. So calming baths, calming baskets, calming buddies. Those are ways to help children calm down. I told you I had tons of ideas for you guys. Sometimes I would just hope a child would just grow out of it. You know what? Have you ever been there where you're just like, I just hope that they're better next year. They're older. And what happens is we're teaching skills. So just a child could be older. That doesn't mean they're going to know math, right? Because they're older now, right? You're like, oh my goodness, please be better next year, you know? And we do all those things where we just like hoping and hoping. But here's the thing, skill building is the key. So then instead of me hoping, I could have been skill building. That is the key. Skill building is number one. So keep that in mind as you're kind of thinking about these kind of pitfalls and common approaches. Now, I'm mentioning a few strategies starting out, guys, and I think maybe you're liking some of them. So what if you have a parent that's just not on board? I got to share with you that I had a parent, and they said, here you go. And I was like, what did you give to me? And it was a belt. And they said, well, you said they're having challenging behaviors, so this is what I use at home. I know, Donna. This is what I use at home. Donna said, no, this is what I use at home, and this is what you're right, Lauren. I can't use that in the classroom. So I said, thank you. I could use it to hold up my pants, but I said, thank you. You are so caring that you want your child to behave. But can I share with you that these are the strategies that we're using? And so a parent, what we want to do is just say to them, you know what, it depends on how well I know that family. And here's the reminder, we don't need to be on the same page. I know, guys, it's like, what? No, I thanked the parent, and I just said, these are the strategies that I'm using. I really appreciate you. Thank you for all these strategies. And if I know the parent and talk to them daily, they'll say, you know what? I'll be like, I made a bag for you. And then I'll keep talking about how, like, you know, the bag works. You know it worked. And the parent's like, huh, you telling me that bag worked? And then one day the parent would say, maybe weeks later, you know, I think I might try this bag you keep talking about. Here's the thing. Parents may need time to try these strategies. These are easy for us to get on board, but may be really different for some parents. So one thing I'm going to say for parents, give them time. And when I say time, it's not a week, it's not a month. Sometimes it can be 6 or 7 months before they kind of, right, you're developing that relationship with them. The other tip, come on, give me some amens. If you've kind of had a family, right, it's different for parents. Some families will never try this bad. They will never try it, but they may stop spanking their child. And that's all I ask, right? They may never try this, but at least I made movement, right? So also, don't try to get parents to do everything that you're doing. Baby steps. Jessica's like, amen. Tina, some parents, this is cultural, right? So that's so true. So then, so another idea is, so I keep seeing something about annotating, and I just decline it. So I hope that's okay, Mary, that I just keep seeing a note to someone wants to annotate, and I don't think we need to annotate. So if anybody's trying to annotate, I don't think we need to do that. Okay, good. And so the other last thing I want to share before I give some more, I know you got ready for more strategies. One last thing about parents is capacity. I'm actually going to share a story of my own. I am, you know what? Mary shared with you, me and my husband have 4 children. Did she not? So yeah, we're expert on challenging behaviors. We had some today. so yes. So what I would say is that I remember at one time my mom was very sick. That she had a stroke and she was in the hospital, and it wasn't just for a day or two. She was in the hospital on and off for months. She stayed sick for, it was like almost a year. I think it was almost a little bit over a year. She was on and off, and she was very sick. Thanks, Tina. And during that time, I remember my daughter, who was 5, when she first had her stroke, my daughter was 5, and that was a really hard year. And my daughter was having challenges in the classroom. And the teachers, I am a teacher, so right, I go to the meeting, and they hand me a bunch of ideas, and I just drop them. And I just said to them, there's no way I can do this. I'm in the hospital until 1 o'clock in the morning, and I don't even know when my mother's in the hospital. I had no capacity at that moment to do one more thing. Now, the next year, so my mother was on and off. She got sick, really sick for a year, and then she got better, and then she got sick again. So in a few months' time, she got better, and then I had more capacity. And so that I could try strategies. So the key thing is sometimes parents are under so much stress and so much trauma that they can't try strategies at that moment. It depends on if that trauma is ongoing or short term. In my case, it was not ongoing for a long period. It was ongoing, but it wasn't 20 years of trauma. It was just maybe a few months or a year or so. So what I want to say is I was able to try strategies, but my life was more calm. So that's what I want to remind you. It may take a year where a parent tries no strategy because they don't have the capacity. And if that makes sense to you guys, give me some thumbs up, give me some amens, give me some, I think I'm getting it, I think I'm getting it. Terry's like, okay. I'm hearing some raised hands, and right, I'm hearing see some very true. So I want to remind you that parents are in different stages just like children. You may have the parent that's ready on board. You may have the parent that is slowly you can bring on board. You may have a parent that has no capacity at that time. And just like you differentiate for children, that sometimes we have to accept a parent who says, I can't be on the same page as you. And then accept them for that. Meet them. I'll finish up this piece with just saying, meet them where they are. Meet them where they are. So keep thinking on it. I know it's a challenge. I'm not saying it's easy, but keep thinking about it. Okay, so let's go forward. I want to remind you is that some of my discipline approaches meant that I was missing, the children were missing skills, but I was missing skills. So in my book, I describe a situation where I had a child who was 3 years old who bit a chunk out of another child's face. Yep, that happened in 1996. OMG is right, right? Yes, wow, Margot. And so the child kept biting and biting and biting, and then all of a sudden, and of course, the child bit who? The smallest, sweetest, tiniest, right, child in the entire classroom. Yes. And that little girl went out on a stretcher. Yes, she did. She went to the hospital. And so what I learned, what I want to tell you is I'm going to share some ideas from that scenario on how I solved that problem. We solved it. So there's good news, you guys. We solved it. And there's a ton of things in my book about how I solved that problem. But yeah, hooray! Yeah, you guys were crying, but I'm giving you the how it works. And so what I want to share with you, I'm so grateful for that little boy in 1996. If I hadn't learned from him, I wouldn't be doing this training with you today. So I learned if I removed him, we couldn't remove him from the classroom. Don't get me wrong, I asked. I did. Yeah. I just said, come on, guys. You know, they're like, nope. They would not remove him, and because they wouldn't remove him, I learned a whole bunch of new skills. So that's what I want to share, that it's not just the children missing out, but we're missing out as well. Okay. All right. So as we talk about removal, some of you guys are like, well, what about the other kids? I mean, this little girl got this. Are you serious? Come on, everybody. Are you serious, Angela? What about the safety of self and others? Come on, everybody. You've been there where you're like, wait a minute. So what I did is I did a lot of research for my book about removal. And what it showed is that suspensions are removed. Well, we don't say suspensions, right? We kind of think like, can you pick them up early? Right? That's what we say, right? Or we say something like, you know, I don't know, I want to give you the gift of time. Go home. Don't come here. Be at home. Spend time there. Figure it all out and then come back. So that's another one we say. So we don't use the word suspension. But any type of removal that I described earlier, picking up early, those kinds of things, well, if you pick them up early, how are they going to learn the skills? But one thing, it actually is negative consequences for all children, and including the child who was removed, but also the children who aren't removed. So the children who aren't removed actually had lower math and literacy scores. What? I know. Are you? Come on, tell me if you're surprised. Chat in the chat box if you're like, wait a minute. So often we said, yeah. So what the idea is that one, if a teacher keeps using removal, then they're probably not having a good, right understanding of skill building themselves. They may be lacking in skills, okay? And then also, when you're removing that kid, the kids don't know where the kids are still thinking about that kid. So sometimes, like we said, we're like, can you get Bobby? And Bobby's like, no, I want to come to circle. And so they drag Bobby away. Do you think just because you started saying A, B, C, D, E, F, G, that the other children are thinking about A, B, C? You just removed Bobby screaming and kicking from the circle time. So now all the children's minds are really on Bobby. Some children actually were afraid. So the other reason that some children stopped listening was that they were scared that you would do to them what you just did to Bobby. So they're sitting there terrified because they're wondering. Some children just wondered what happened to Bobby. They were like, well, where is he going? And so they're not paying attention to the task because now they're not learning. They're thinking about where's Bobby. So I asked the little girl, and I said to her, well, what happens if a child doesn't act nice in the classroom? And she said they disappear. She said so the children aren't even understanding where the child is, what's going on. Then she just said disappear. I don't know. So what it does is it leaves all children confused. Right? Yes, yeah, right? It leaves them all confused. And so what I gave to you guys, and this is also on my author page for Griffin House, is a form called What About the Other Kids? Because that's what I thought. You're biting, you're hitting. What about the other kids? And so this tool helps you think about the other kids without having to do removal. Removal could be necessary, but we actually push. I recommend pushing in support as opposed to pulling out. So pushing in, someone to support, pushing in something, or, you know, like say, Mary, I'm using you again, Mary, has a challenging behavior at around lunchtime, we push in support, maybe having a volunteer, a student volunteer come in at noon, and then not that volunteer works with the child, but maybe the teacher could spend more time. So maybe a high school student, a college student who can't be alone with the children come in the classroom at the time where it's most challenging. So that's what we've used, is high school students, grandparents, also college students. Ooh, Rasmussen always has college students who need field work. So make sure that you're connected with your community college. With the Retired Teachers Association is another idea. Retired teachers love coming in to volunteer, and they actually do a great job in the classroom. So the way the form is organized is there is Tier 1 means that you, so I did it according to the time of day. Tier 1 means you need no support. Tier 2 means you occasionally need support. Tier 3 means you need high support, like the little guy that I was mentioning. And here's the thing, that child may not need high support throughout the day. So that's why I have you put the list of names of the children who need support with that, right, COVID, I know, I did see that. COVID means we can't have visitors now, but with COVID, we actually have less children in the classroom. So right now, if you're in Illinois, the ratio has moved from 20 children in a preschool classroom to 10 children in a preschool classroom. So that is a pre-COVID. That is a good reminder. Outside of, but then now, before, when I was mentioning my situation, there were 20 kids in a class. Now, because of COVID, there's 10 kids in a class. So then now, I may not need that support, but outside of COVID, that is something you can do because you'll have higher numbers. And then here's some of the strategies. So list the names of students in each tier. So if they're not having an issue at arrival, then make students be the greeter for children in Tier 2 or Tier 3. Teach a child to be a buddy who isn't having challenging behaviors to a child who is. Give the child who is not having challenging behaviors a visual to support the children in Tier 2 or Tier 3. So sometimes we actually ignore children because we're still dealing with the challenging behavior. This helps you not to ignore children who are not having the behavior at that time. So this kind of gives you, you know, some ideas about the tiers of where children can be. Also, just a reminder, the child that I mentioned who had white children was not a challenge at certain times of the day. So then now I could manage, well, this child's having a challenge at this time, but this child is having a challenge at this time. I could think about the daily schedule, and I could think about which children need more support and what support to give children at each tier. All right. So now let me kind of pause for a minute and ask you how you would use this form. Is it helpful? And then answer a few more questions as you guys are typing. So go ahead and chat in the chat box about how you would use that form. Were you able to download it? If you know, did you get it? Did you take a glance at it? Do you have it in front of you? If you don't, does it sound like something you would use? And it would be really helpful. And then as you're doing that, I'm going to answer a question about following directions. So following directions is a big one that I talk about in my book. And so, and I see some chats coming in. So one thing I want to remind you of is when you're thinking about directions, it's not that they're not listening, it's they're not processing. Aha! Young children from 0 to 6 process directions differently than school-age children. Boom. Okay? So then now, children who are age 0 to 3 process information differently. So what we're talking about today is changing you. And so how I would change you is 1, give more processing time for directions. 2, use a visual with words for directions. 3, Have a child who doesn't understand directions act out the directions. Like they're the one that acts them out. Like, we're going to, like as you're saying, we're going to walk nicely. That child's walking. They're like doing it next to you. You're like, you're going to act them out. You have a special job. So you always have a child who doesn't listen, or the couple see the direction. Somebody said visual direction. So child direction, think about how you could change how to give direction. Booyah! That's the first thing I think. I also think of if a child's not following directions, young children can have ear infections. They can't hear well. So make sure they can hear, because ear infections are common. Make sure also, Dawn mentioned visuals. Visuals are great. If you are working with infants, toddlers, and twos, I use sign language. So I say, help me cut. Walking, right, so I'll use sign language and gestures. Oh, Mary talked about repeating directions, just repeating it over and over again. I say the normal thing is to, if you don't like repeating directions, I don't know what to tell you. You might have to find a new career. We repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat, because very young children really have a hard time with, they're learning about processing. Have you ever asked a child a question at group time and you said, oh, what color do you notice? And they go, blue. And then you go, and now what number do you see? And a child goes, blue. And you're like, Bobby, you are not paying attention. We already said it was blue. That's because Bobby was still processing the answer. Boom. That's why their processing is slower than a school-age child. And so we have to repeat and repeat. So, yes, I did think that little before Bobby. You're not paying attention. You're not listening. It's because their processing speed is different. Slow down. Pause. Visual. Sing directions. Okay. So I saw, Mary, I saw some chats about the form. What did folks say? What did they chat in, Mary? I think I saw good stuff.
Yeah, I think they said that they could definitely see using it. They haven't downloaded it yet. Some people, I think, were headed there with the links that I gave them. But they could definitely see using it. They feel like it helps all children, and could be shared around the center with other classrooms, too. So very popular. I think it's just, it makes you remember the other kids. We always talk about that. Well, we don't want to give too much attention to the one child, so we worry about that. Well, this formalizes it. It makes it intentional. Now we're paying attention to the other children intentionally and how we can help them.
Yes. All right. Yes, I think it was a winner. So the form is called What About the Other Kids? It'll be so easy. You can download it. Mary sent it, but it's also on my author page. It's easy to download. Share it out with your friends. So awesome. So now I'm going to show you. Oh, yes. Yes, this is a real picture. I took this picture in December. This is a real classroom. I'm not pretending. Who's been in this classroom where I mentioned the biter and the pusher and all of that. They're running. Those are the things that we're seeing. So now, the fact is the most challenging student is never going to be absent. Yes. Wow. Yes. So here are the challenging behaviors are messy. And then the next, about 40 minutes or so, I'm going to talk about how to clean up our mess. You use the same steps that you use for your dirty laundry. So it should be easy for you to remember and know how to clean up your act. Okay? So, and also the page numbers are to my book. Some people actually do have my book, and they're like, give me the Cliff Notes, girl. So it's for anybody who wants the Cliff Notes. You don't have to have my book to understand this training, but it's for those who do. I'm giving you the Cliff Notes. So here's how we're going to clean it up. First, you're going to sort out your feelings, okay, just like you sort your laundry. Then you're going to repair rips in your relationship. Then you're going to figure out the care instructions. Then you're going to put behavior in the meaning-making machine. You're going to choose a cycle, and you're going to be patient during drying time, which I like to call trying time. Okay?
Sorry, that's funny.
So I got to keep it funny to keep everyone right, Mary. We got to laugh. If we don't laugh, we're going to cry. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to sort out your feelings. Okay, get ready, everybody. So here's some of the things that you feel. When I had the kid who was biting, and he bit the sweetest child in the classroom, oh, I was hot. I was hot. I was mad at everybody. I was mad at his parents. Oh, he don't act like that. Okay, he don't act. Okay, he don't act like that at home. Okay. I'm trying to fit the curriculum into a year. It's overwhelming to me. Raise your hand if you've been personally victimized by short staffing. I can tell you people didn't come to work on a Monday or a Friday. It was so frustrating when they would not come in, and we were short-staffed and we were overwhelmed. And then, the mental health consultant comes in my classroom and tries to tell me how to run my classroom and just regurgitates all the ideas I already tried. Right? So I just sit there like, whatever. Okay? And then this is literally me trying to teach, stay professional, keep my religion, not cuss, answer emails, take roles, stop fights, call parents, all while holding my pee. Right? And then after a while, you were just like, I'm just here so I don't get fined. Who's been there? Come on, everybody. So the first thing we have to do is you have to control your emotions, okay? And this is what I learned from that experience. I was so angry at his parents. I was angry at this 3-year-old. Oh, yeah, I called him a little. I was just like, this kid, I had never seen behavior like that. And I had been teaching for a while. And I'd seen children bite each other, but literally this child bit this child. He had like a little bit of blood on his, oh, it was so scary. And then he just went, he had no expression. I was just like, who does that? He didn't even look upset. I was like, this little serial killer, I don't know what to do with him. So I just had all these emotions, and because they weren't processed, nothing worked. No strategy I tried worked. Because everyone was talking about the child's emotions, and no one talked about my emotions. And you can't have a self-regulated child without a regulated adult. So adult emotions come first, because adult emotions work in tandem with child emotions. So now, I don't need this part. We don't need to press any buttons. So sorry I left that. I wasn't from another workshop. But now I want you to talk about what you were feeling. So just think about, you're not meeting with your group, I'm sorry. So we're just talking right now. Type in the chat box your own negative feelings about children, families, and staff members. Oh, I remember the staff member who would go to the bathroom every time there was a challenging behavior. I was like, you go to the bathroom all day. You keep leaving me with these kids. So go ahead, just put it in the chat box. No need to press any buttons. Sorry, I kind of left that in from an old, they're trying to escape, from an old workshop. And here's some of the things from other workshops that people said. They said disrespectful. Why? Can you just be a doctor? Right? Come on, go ahead. Yes, come on, put it in, everybody. Chat in the chat box. Go ahead. Can they just go home? Right? Those are some feelings you might be feeling, right? Yes. Oh, look at this one. Embarrassed. Has anybody ever felt just embarrassed? Yeah, that was on my watch. That kid, right, was bitten. Helpless, tired, frustrated, hot. Woo! Okay. And then, I want to, annoyed, guilty. I felt guilty. I felt all these different emotions. And because they weren't processed, then nothing was working. And I felt anxious for the other children. So let's sort our feelings out. So we're going to absolutely go where no workshop has gone before. So I'm just going to use Captain Kirk, your Trekkie. And, well, of course, we have happy emotions. Oh, but then when there's a challenging behavior, oh, man. Right? Then that's where, oh, what's happening that day? So if you're not allowed to process those negative emotions, then you're going to be triggered yourself just by anything the child does. Children are co-regulators. What's also happening to your brain? We have negativity bias. So first, here's my gorgeous activity. This is what the little boy did to it. Did I mention that was the biter? And this is how I felt. And Shannon, if you felt that way. So one, it's normal to have those negative feelings. Our emotional brain processes information before our thinking brain. In our rational brain, it's processed more thoroughly. It involves more thinking. We remember negative things more strongly, in more detail. And bad impressions, ooh, man, they are quicker to form and they're resistant to change. But here's the other piece. You're accessing the most primitive part of your brain, the lower part of your brain, your downstairs brain, your emotional brain, and then it can erode your productivity and your decision making. Yep, you can't solve, you can be negative, but you can't stay negative. Okay, so that's where push past it came in. So here's a couple things about, oh yeah, when you feel that pain, it's time to push. Like, what's wrong with you? That's what I was feeling about that little boy. What's wrong with you? And this helped me to push past it, pick out the positive. What I realized is, remember I told you that when he bit, he turned around, he started doing like this? That little boy loved music. It was like his most favorite thing. It was like how he regulated himself, like kind of like doing little dances and moving. So instead of me looking at it as weird, look at it as a positive that I could use. Songs, his name was Mason. That's what I call him in the book. Songs work with Mason. See, if you constantly look at what's wrong, you can't get to what's right. Understand Mason's perspective. Understand everyone's perspective. What we end up finding out was that when we talked to Mom in more detail after he did some really big bites, is that Mom disclosed to us that she had been in homeless shelters. Yeah. We found out a lot of information about Mason that after that. But yes, we did. She was embarrassed. Now, are you guys feeling what I was feeling? So now, instead of being mad at Mason, I just felt bad for Mason. I was like, I didn't know he was in a homeless shelter. Mom was embarrassed. I also found out that while he was in the homeless shelter, he lost things. People would, and then all my anger melted away. And then I was like, oh, that's too much. I stopped thinking, what's wrong with you? And like you guys are thinking, I started instantly thinking out what happened to you. So once I understood Mason's perspective, I even changed my language. And I was like, oh, I would say, I'm going to save your toys. Mason would bite children because he thought they would take his toys. All the other children stopped playing with Mason, and the reason that the little girl kept getting bitten is because she kept wanting to play with him. And she was such a sweet child that she was the only child that would continue to play with him. And so he thought when she would come near him, she was taking his toys. Someone had hurt Mason. Mason had already been through a lot. So when someone came near him, he was scared. And so what I did is I changed my words to, you're going to be safe, Mason. I'm going to protect your toys, Mason. That worked. The reason it wasn't working is because I didn't know Mason. And we also use things like hula hoops. We use trays to show personal space, like anything on Mason's tray, he did not have to share. Anything in Mason's space, he didn't have to share. Placemats, hula hoops, trays, what else? You could use, carpet squares. All of those worked for Mason. I said, this is it. If it's in Mason's hula hoop, he doesn't have to share. If it's outside of Mason's hula hoop, then that's shareable. That worked for Mason. Seek neutral support. You know, guys, I would say, oh, he's terrible. And people are like, girl, amen. He crazy. His mama, his parents are too, his daddy's mom. That didn't help. So then make sure you seek neutral support, even though it can be very affirming to hear that you're right and they're wrong. Make sure you talk to someone neutral, like the mental health consultant. Hone in on everyone's intentions. The mom wasn't intentionally leaving out information. She was embarrassed. So then we started realizing how embarrassed she was. Pay attention to your own behavior. Like, I was upset at Mason, and he knew I didn't like him. He knew. He knew I didn't like him. So nothing was working because I didn't have a connection or relationship with him. Make sure that it worked if I spoke softly to Mason. So I'd be like, hey, and that never worked for me. Mason was very, remember, his temperament was different than mine. So I had a mismatch in temperament with him. Gary, you're right. He started to trust me, and I started to adjust myself. So instead of being like, hey, that didn't work for Mason. I had to use a very small voice. I had to talk next to him. I would say, look at my face. Look, Mason didn't want to look at my face. He didn't like that either. I would say, look at me, look at me. That never worked. So actually what worked for Mason is to talk next to him and whisper in his ear, Mason, be gentle. That worked for Mason because I don't know if somebody had pushed him, or I don't know what happened in his life, but that scared Mason. Children do scary things when they're scared. Mason had adrenaline. If you've ever seen a child push a heavy chair, that's fear. That's not strength. That's adrenaline. Ask questions. Of course, I didn't ask enough questions to his mom. And right, so I need to ask lots of questions about his background. I assume too much. Take a step back and take care of yourself. So make sure that you take a breath, that you take a teacher time out, that you go, woosah. And some of the things in my bag calmed me down. So I'd be like, I'm going to blow some bubbles right now. And blowing bubbles calmed the children, but it also calmed me down. Singing a song calmed me down. So then think of ways in the classroom that can calm you down. Observation, Terry, all of those things. So this was in 1996, and what I want to share with you, after Mason did that big bite, he never bit children again. I also could be close to Mason. Before, I was so angry at him that I was next to him when he did that bite, but I was like looking at another child. So what I did going forward is that the other children weren't aggressive as Mason. So then if they had an argument, I would just say, come on over, guys, but I would have Mason close to me. So and I would always kind of keep my eyes on Mason and then adjust my body so that Mason was kind of in front of me, but I wasn't hovering over him. So that if two children are arguing in a corner, I didn't go to those children. I stayed close to Mason and had them come to me. So then that really helped with some aggression. So some of you guys mentioned, how did I deal with aggressive children? One, know why they're aggressive. Mason was terrified. The other piece is, like, you have to know the reason behind it. The other piece is that you have to find the strategies that match to that child. The other piece is that you also want to make sure that you shadow that child appropriately. I shadowed, but not well. So change yourself. Think of, and reflect on yourself. So more ideas for push past it. Don't stress yourself out. This is one poster where it says, whisper beep bop to self, repeat until not sad. Say bubbles in your, plug your nose. The children actually will look at you and just start laughing. And it's better just to diffuse the situation as opposed to escalate it. Teachers need motivation. So motivate each other with notes of positivity, Post-it notes, you can do it, a pep talk. Chill pills. Motivation is like deodorant, especially when you have really challenging behaviors. You just have to just think of ways to motivate and cool yourself down and relax. So chat in the chat box your cool down strategies. What actually helps you calm down in your classroom? For bubbles, we mentioned. Singing songs can calm you down. Taking your own teacher deep breaths. Silly faces. Coloring. Oh my gosh, these are great ones. Oops, let me go here. Puppets. So think about, these are great calm down strategies. Once you've had a way watching a stand timer, then you want to go ahead and reframe those feelings and add logic after you've pushed past it. So once you push and once you calm, then go back to those statements that you had earlier. And then you kind of regroup, don't you? These are examples from other trainings. Backstory. I'm here to be part of the solution. He's only 3, bless his heart. We've got this. All behaviors communication. He only knows what he knows. He's just doing what he knows, right? So when I was in my emotional brain, I wasn't infected. But once I pushed past it, I got to my logical brain, and then I was able to problem solve. And so for me, writing down all the negative things helped me to get to the positive. So write down, a good idea is also to write down a bunch of like, I'm tired, I'm sick of this, and then ball it up, throw it away, and then push yourself, right? The acronym push past it, right? Another idea that some sites did is they actually have a bulletin board in the staff lounge where they actually can post some negative things and push past it to the middle, and on the other side they pin up and put stickies for positive things. So pushing past it is something that you do all day long, and it's not a one and done situation. Also push past it for parents. Like, are you serious? You are not on the same page with us. Right? Like we mentioned earlier, those things are frustrating. Come on, everybody, and you're tired. And once you push past it, then you can imagine all the different reasons that's why a family's not on the same page with you. So keep pushing. Every day is a new day. Persevere. All right. Reminder, I mentioned negativity bias, and some of you are like, what? 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 Me? Bias? And so bias and stereotypes tend to surface in everyone when they have a child who exhibits challenging behaviors, whether you're conscious of it or not. So I'm not trying to attack your moral character. Implicit bias actually runs counter to your belief system is unconscious. So definitely, I think you're nice people. I think I'm a nice person, but I did call a 3-year-old a serial killer. So if you're not biased, awesome. I wish more children had these experiences. And personally, I would like to think I'm not biased, but am I the best person to make that assessment? I'm not biased. Well, of course I think I'm not biased, right? So one way to test your bias is write down all the names of the children that challenge you. Just take a minute right now and write down all the names of the children that challenge you. Write them down. Just take a second and write them down. Okay? Think of like, okay, this one, right? And now I want you to think, as you're kind of thinking, oh, this one, who's it? You're thinking about who's in your class right now or who was in your class if you don't have class right now. And think if there was a pattern. When I did this at a workshop, most of the children that challenged me were boys. Boys are not inherently bad kids. I just need to have more training on how to work with rambunctious little boys, right? So usually my challenges were not the little girl who was like, you can come to my party. That usually was a challenge. You're not my friend anymore. All of that, it was much more like, oh, it was a boy, hi-ya, and a hee, and and the running, and those kinds of things that boys did. So for you, it could be a different struggle. What you have to find out is where your biases lie. So a couple more ideas before we move on, because we mentioned running and jumping and those things. That is something that maybe someone mentioned running in a classroom. One, you do have to figure out why they're running, but one thing to think about is make sure that you organize your classroom, that there isn't like a runway for open space. So you need to make sure that your classroom is not like a space that could run down the middle. Another idea is to have sit-and-spins, to have a bubble wrap that they can jump on. So make sure they have a space that you bring out when you see children need to have, like you see them running, your response should be use your walking feet, or it can be it looks like you need the jumping bag or the jumping game, and then give them some jumping. So replace the running with a new movement. Rearranging your classroom is great. Look over your class, take a picture of it. Sometimes I've used I have like a, I know some people have like a trampoline, and they bring it out. Another idea is to bring out, if you have a small classroom, a tunnel. So you move from running to crawling. You're just replacing the behavior with something else. So you see them running, you go, I think we need the tunnel. And then you've redirected that behavior into something more appropriate. Another idea is swinging, rocking, something where you have activities that you'll say, I think we need to bring out the parachute, you know, something like that. So you're replacing the behavior with something different. Can be another great way. So you're not ending the running, you're replacing it with something else. So tunnel, if you have a small classroom, they can crawl quickly. Something like trampoline, a bubble wrap they can jump on, something they can jump in like a hula hoop, or you square, say jump on the square, it looks like, or say you need 10 jumps. And then say, I bet you can't do 10 jumps. I see you can run, but I bet you can't do 10 jumps standing in one space. I bet you can, I bet you can't. And then the kids go, yes, I can, yes, I can. So you just redirected their behavior. So what you want to do is redirect that into a positive. Okay. We want to make sure, I mentioned boys, didn't I? And so exclusion is actually unfairly applied. We talked about that. Boys is actually not just my issue, but boys are usually excluded and punished at higher rates than girls are. Children with special needs are also excluded and punished at higher rates than children without special needs. Black students are excluded and punished at higher rates than any other ethnic group. And then exclusion is also associated with less classroom order and lower teaching quality. So we also just want, I'm going to keep throwing out these examples so we can build up your repertoire. What? So we are going to build you up. Yes, I'm glad you guys are getting ideas, because when I was struggled, I just didn't have enough things in my tool belt. Okay? All right, chat in with me, everybody, if you like these ideas. So I'm just going to keep on going. Mary, should I, before I go to the next step, should I check in the chat box and see if there's anything I'm missing, Mary, or any questions?
I think we're doing pretty good. Lots of additional ideas. People talking about rearranging their classroom. It was funny you mentioned boys, but there were several comments on here about challenging girl groups, the quote unquote mean girls. You know, the girls that are a little challenging to work with. I think was interesting, although there were others that still said that most of the people on their list were boys. And so that was, yeah, so it's really really interesting. This picture gives me like nightmares. I don't know.
And this actually was a little girl who did this, right?
Oh,
Yeah, so it's not just boys, right? It just happens that boys tend to, it happens more, but oh man, it is happening. And Mary, thank you. I just want to share there is a section in the book where it talks about verbal aggression. That is just verbal aggression where girls say, you're not coming to my party and all of that. But here's a couple things about verbal aggression. One, it's a step up from physical aggression. It means, hey, they're using their words. It's just not the nicest word. It's not the ones you want them to use, but they're using words. They're not physically hurting anybody, right? So that's actually a higher cognitive skill, and girls actually are more verbal. I know, haha. And now the only thing you need to do is teach them the right words. So one thing that we do for girls, and for any child who's doing verbal aggression, is that we'll do friendship detectives. So friendship detectives get to wear these special glasses, and what they do is they write down all the ways they could be friends throughout the day. And so friendship detectives look around to see who's being friends. And when they see someone being friends, they like give them a star, and preschool kids can do this. So this is a great one to think about reversing that behavior. Also, when you're a friendship detective, instead of tattling, you toodle. Toodles are the opposite of tattles. Toodles are when you and toot every time you see someone doing something good. So some of the things to do when you're seeing children use that verbal aggression, like you can't be my friend or you can't play with us, is that one, everybody can play, and then two, toodles, friendship. So reward them for being kind, being a good friend, and being friendship detectives is one way that we've done that. Now, let's dig into some more ideas because, oh boy, we got lots more to cover. So one, I talked about sorting out your feelings, but also we want to talk about repairing rips in your relationship. I mentioned that a little boy named Tim is a subject of one of my workshops. But with Mason, I had to change my words. So then instead of yelling, no, stop, those kinds of things, be positive. I would say one of the most powerful strategies is changing how you talk to a child. So one way to test yourself is to do paperclip tests. So paper clips on the collar of your shirt if you work with preschoolers. Now, infants and toddlers may grab it, so you want to put pebbles in a jar and track every time. You can do it two ways. If you put paper clips around your collar, take off a paper clip every time you say something negative. Or you could do the opposite, and you could put pebbles or paper clips in a jar every time you say something positive. Track to see how many times you can do it in a day. When I did the paper clip test, oh my gosh, I put like 10 paper clips and I had none by 9:30. So we don't like to think that we're being nice. We like to think that we're using calm voices. And I will say, using a calm voice and telling children what to do is one of the most simplest yet powerful strategies to deal with children with aggressive behaviors that I've ever found. You're like, I can't talking. That's it. It's positive words, calming voice is powerful. Now, reminder, if children are having a challenging behavior, don't remove the child. That can exacerbate things. So that's why you have calming bags, calming caddies, because then you could be pulling a child and that child could get hurt. And so one of the pages that I have, this is in my book, but one thing is we'll talk about repairing a relationship. If you don't have a positive relationship with a child, strategies won't work. So here's an example. You guys can take a picture of this if you're like, this is kind of a cool form. And that we'll think of for 2 weeks, ways to build a relationship with a child if we just have a conflictual relationship. If a child walks through the door and you go, oh, brother, here we go. Here's the troublemakers. As they walk in, you probably want to repair rips in your relationship. If you don't have a positive relationship with a child, no strategy will work. And sometimes that's why our strategies aren't working. Point out what a child is doing right. Play with that child. Ask that child to help you. Let the child choose what to do first. Use their interests. So we had one little boy, I'll use a boy example and a girl. We had one little boy who loved superheroes and wrestlers. So we did, for the child who loved wrestlers, we gave them a belt, and every time they did the right thing, and they had a little picture of John Cena, they got a notch on their belt. And it was like they were a wrestler. So they're like wrestlers wear belts. So getting a notch on their belt made them feel good. For girls, we've actually done a little purse. So I got a cuter little purse that had like a hook to it, and we would put smiley faces in their purse. Oh, they work for husbands too. Significant others love these as well. So you could put smiley faces in their purse, and then this is a math activity. So what you could do is they count the notches on their belt, and the girl, and it's very, I'm giving kind of, I guess, gender stereotypical ideas, but, you know, because girls could love wrestlers too. And then a purse, they could count how many smiley faces they got. The more smiley faces, then you start to weed out some of this. So we just do this for a couple of weeks, and then we fade it out and do it less, and less. You don't need to keep reinforcing to that high rate. So if you know the child's interest, you'll be able to pick what works for you. All right, tell me the strategies. I saw people saying strategies they like. Keep chatting it in. So raise your hand if you've done strategies, but they just don't work. Come on, raise your hand if you've ever felt like I've been victimized by these strategies that don't work, okay? So now I wanted to go into a handout that I gave to you, and it's called the Work It Worksheet. And so I want to remind you that strategies don't work. You work. You work the strategy. When I give you a strategy, it's like IKEA. Assembly is required. Right. So you have to put together the strategy. Strategies need work. So the Work It Worksheet is also a handout that was given to you. And on the Work It Worksheet, it also gives page numbers. So then when a strategy is not working, that's a good start, but it's not where we stop. Strategies don't work, people work. So this worksheet is actually several pages long, and it gives ideas on how to work a strategy. So if you, the Work It Worksheet, kind of pull it out. You can download that for free, like I said, off my author page, but you also got that as a handout. What? And so ways that strategies may not work is because you weren't implementing it regularly enough, or you don't have a positive relationship with a child, or one person on the team's implementing it and another person's not. So the Work It Worksheet, if you've ever had strategies that just don't work, come on, chat with me how this will be helpful. The Work It Worksheet is several pages long, and it helps you to problem solve and think about how to make strategies work. Yes, Jennifer, I agree. You have to be relentlessly consistent, right? Or a strategy could be working because a child's absent, and then you have to start all over again, right? So there's so many reasons. That's why it's several pages for you to problem solve on how to work it. Okay. All right. So here is another piece that I want to share with you, and we're digging into more strategies. And one thing that I have here is that we often sabotage ourselves. So we have a good, we have a few more minutes, and I'm going to share some more ideas. Okay? So connect before you direct. This is another way to change you. So we often focus on direction and not connection. So ways to have connections, I want to share with you, is that this little boy, the teacher said, time to clean up. And he runs under the table. And the reason is because there was no connection before direction. So what the teacher ended up doing, and she realized her connection was missing, and when the little boy went under the table, she took out a puppet. She took out, it's not something you would think you would do. She took out a puppet. It immediately caught the little boy's attention. He said, that's that spider puppet. Came out from under the table. And she said, yeah, I like this. He said, I do. I like this puppet. And then the teacher said, this is a cleanup puppet. She's good, isn't she? She said when she went to my training, and actually I provide consultation. So she went to the training, and then I was observing her in the classroom. And once she took out the puppet, I knew to take my camera out. And she said, this is a cleanup puppet. And she said, to hold this puppet, we have to clean up. She made a connection before she gave her direction. Singing, right? Bubbles. Come, you know, the child runs away, a child will always come to you if you have bubbles. A race car. So who has infants and toddlers? And you go, time to change your diaper. That's not connecting. That toddler will run from you. Time to brush your teeth. The toddler goes the other way. So you didn't connect before you direct. So you would say, here's the race car. All right, let's see butterflies. Let's fly, fly, fly. We want to make connections. Circle time, small group, cleanup are not expectations, but invitations to play with me. Quiet spray is just something you spray in the air for children to calm their bodies. We don't spray it on kids. It's just water and vanilla extract. It's just the smell is calming. Or maybe you want to do something more alerting with a ball. A ball could be a great connector at circle time with questions on it. Or friendship lotion. And actually the friendship lotion could be empty and the kids actually, oh, I need some, I need some, I need some, and rub their hands together to be friends. These are all ways to change you. So in the last, you would tell me if you like it, in the last, and they rub those hands together, not in COVID, but in the last like 2 minutes here, I'm going to share a couple more things that we're going to go into deeply in our second part of this workshop on August 13th. So next, when I come back next time, you guys received a handout called 3 Phases of Implementation. When you try a new strategy, it could take a while for phases for it to implement. Even good strategies can be difficult. So next time we'll actually get into, and you guys have the handout, called the 3 Phases of Implementation worksheet. Also, we're going to figure out the care instructions with a handout called the Meaning Making Machine. And so next time, you can see the sheet is pretty self-explanatory on how to use it, but next time we're going to go in very more depth about how to use this Meaning Making Machine worksheet. Then on the Meaning Making Machine, it also gives a behavior plan, and it talks about change you, change the child, and change the consequences. Today I focused on change you, but we're going to focus more on other parts of this form next time. So here's some examples I want to show you before I wrap up. And these are in my book and you can download them. Brain sprinkles brings everyone to circle time. Hula hoops brings everyone to circle time. Visuals, right? Change how circle time is set up. If a child doesn't want to write, I'm just going to show a couple more slides here and we're going to wrap up. If a child doesn't want to write with their hands, tell them to write with their feet. That changes you. You don't want to write your name, do it under the desk. That's another way to change you, not the child. Visuals of expectations, send them home for the children to look at with their parents. Change use. Here are tons of examples that we're going to delve into more next time of this change in the environment, giving more wiggle room, bringing out more tissues, setting up an environment for turn-taking, noisometers, using rubrics for getting in line. So we're going to talk more about these things the next time, but I hope that you guys got some ideas. Now, if there's something that you want more information about, don't forget I have a YouTube channel, so don't forget that. Also, remember our part 2 is August 13th, and I will answer any questions that you have on my Push Past It private group. If you're not on the private group, feel free to email me. So definitely email me. But I'm going to give you a pep talk before we leave. is that this is actually a picture of an amputee taking his first steps. And if he's got it, you got it. So good luck to everybody, and I hope I see you again. And oh, I think the video, did it actually work for a second? Here's the little boy. Oh,
Did it for a second?
It did for a second. I don't know.
We'll get it figured out for next time for sure. No, this has been great. You have got so many wonderful ideas and such logical things to think about and strategies to remember. So I do hope you can all be here. Just realized my video is not on. I do hope you can all be here in August for our second part. Be sure to register so that you get your link within the next 48 business hours. So by the end of the day Monday, although I can tell you my buddy Ian, who sends out the email to you all, is pretty on top of things. So I'm sure he'll have it out tomorrow. And that email will give you your certificate link as well as a document with all these handouts in it so that you'll be able to take a look at them, get practice with them, look through them, and get ready for our session in August. And then also you have plenty of time to even order the book and get it by the next session. I highly recommend it. I read it literally in 2 days, and because it was so easy to read and engaging, and there were such great stories and examples that brought it all to life. So thank you so much. I appreciate you very much, Angela, and we will see you again in August.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.